I was recently interviewed for a pediatric post, which was very stressful. And one of the things they asked me about straight out the gate is, tell us something about yourself outside of the CV, which is such a loaded question because you sort of want to say, oh, all that exists of me is the love I have for pediatrics and how much I want to die as the catcher in the rye. And to some degree that is true. Looking after people, taking care of them, being the catcher in the rye, it feels very meaningful. It gives me a reason to wake up. But the answer that I gave, which was so impulsive and instinctive, was that I love to create. I love to play the guitar and learn a new song even though I'm rubbish at it. And I love to pick up the camera and try and learn a bit more about how to get better lighting and how to do better audio. I love 3D designing little bits and bobs and watching it come to life. I think art in general just reveals the best of us, and it makes it possible for us to feel some degree of acceptance of the worst parts of us in both small and big ways. It just lets us be. And I think the reason that I love Minecraft is because it allows me to be creative in a way that wouldn't be possible otherwise. There's this YouTuber, and I'll link her video down below, but she makes this point that, like, to write a book you need like a pen and paper. To build a building you need crippling amounts of debt to get the degree that would let you convince someone else to go into crippling debt to let you build something on their behalf, and you kind of get 1 or 2 goes at it, and then you're kind of done. If it goes well, you might get a couple more tries at the thing, but to make great architecture, to have fun designing buildings and pathways and towns and cities. I remember when I was like in high school and I was watching TED Talks about city design in Tokyo and how it influences the way in which we live and building design and communal building. Minecraft lets me be creative in this very unique way with none of that. It does the thing that I think all good technology does, which is that it allows us to do things that we wouldn't normally be able to do and to have fun doing it. You know, the act of building in Minecraft is so satisfying. Maybe it's the autism in me, but the act of putting down sort of brick by brick a wall and then taking it down and redesigning it, the act of hollowing out the underneath of a cave and slowly mapping it out and mining for diamonds and steel, and the sheer terror of running into the Enderman, or I think he's called the Enderman. It all feels very, very exhilarating, but at the same time it feels really lovely to start to see something that you're building come to life. You know, one of the things that I really love about Minecraft is the onboarding. It's a blank canvas, but it's got enough on it that you can start. It onboards you quite easily, and for example, one of the problems that I had in my biome, and I refused to move, is that there's a lot of snow, and I wanted to figure out how to get the snow not to be there. And so I had to I tried to use spider webs and put them all over the floors, and that didn't work. And then I tried to cover the whole roof with rocks and then put matches underneath, but then that looked really depressing. Eventually I realized that if I make a ceiling of glass, the snow doesn't land and stick on the glass, and so I've been slowly doing that, and that process of trial and error and then figuring it out and then sort of hyperfixating on collecting sand to make into glass and then slowly putting the glass onto the ceiling bit by bit was just such a satisfying, interesting thing. And I just felt it was so much fun to do that. And one of the things that it felt so good to do that, and it honestly feels very similar to 3D printing, where you're slowly designing, iterating on something until you have something functional, and then you decide to push past that and make something beautiful. The main thing that gets in the way of me enjoying Minecraft is my depression. Because depression for me does this weird thing of it really enhances my nihilism. And sometimes it can feel meaningless to make pretty blocks on a screen, on a web server that nobody's ever going to see. It feels pointless, and that can sometimes really be jarring as you're like an hour or two deep into like building this ones and zeros glass ceiling roof. But the truth is that everything is meaningless. We're on a rock floating in the middle of space. Even if we save 1,000 people or make $1 billion, it won't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But in its own small way, making art and enjoying the creation of art has kept me alive in its own small and big ways, and I try to remember that and not let the nihilism take it away.